Welcome back. I know it hasn't been too long since we last spoke, but it's still been just a bit, right? Long enough to miss me, I hope. I do wonder if you've been enjoying the outside air a bit as the heats come back. With a bit of luck, I do believe our entire collective mood should be somewhat springier, eh? Tell you what though, I'm in good spirits. I'm in very good spirits, because not only do I have a new video for you, I have an awesome announcement to make that I've been very excited about. The results are in, kids. Love letters actually can go a long way. Back in December, just before the new year, I wrapped up 2017 with discussion of a mighty new online presence rolling out fresh horror and dark media content with an emphasis on new creators and original work. Crypt TV. I can see I wasn't the only one getting excited about the work being done by Crypt, as a few other channels have shared their fascination since. Luxie in particular seems to be a character the internet enjoys just as much as I do, which excites me quite a lot. But even as much as recognition of the Luxie excites me, I feel twice as excited about the major aftermath of that first Crypt TV video. It wasn't just enjoyed by you guys. Crypt TV themselves enjoyed it and reached out to me to express their appreciation. As stated in my first video, Crypt and Nightmind actually share quite a lot of the same goals and values. And in discussing our common vision online for creators in the field of new dark media and horror, we've forged a relationship I finally get to fill you all in on. I'm very proud to announce that Nightmind is now an official partner of Crypt TV. I cover new scary and weird things made by passionate creators online. They showcase and support new scary and weird things made by passionate creators online. We both love monsters and unique uses of the internet for storytelling. We both enjoy the same shade of arterial blood red and coffin black for our home decor. I mean, come on, this really was a match made in the underworld. So what does this mean exactly? Essentially, I get to give you as much access to the workings of Crypt TV as they're willing to allow when it comes to roaming around in the depths, including potential visits to their basement laboratories. Full company support on coverage of short films from their library, sneak peeks at upcoming work, world premieres or exclusives, and even creator interviews are all on the table, as well as some things we haven't even thought of and maybe one or two ideas I'm not quite ready to reveal. You guys know I do love my cool surprises. Crypt TV has also expressed that in forging this partnership, they want to know what you guys want to see out of it. What kind of content would you like to get from Nightmind access to Crypt TV? Any and all requests can be discussed. We're both excited to see what you'd like to see. Chances are pretty high that no matter what it is, we can make it happen. Let us know in the comment section or on Twitter. And now, what does this mean beyond special access and backing by Crypt TV for us as a community? Well, as mentioned previously, Crypt and Nightmind do share quite a few of the same goals, and you all know how much I strive to make new opportunities for independent creators to shine and for great new work to rise. A partnership between Nightmind and Crypt TV forms a bridge between our growing field of online indie media and theirs, providing Crypt TV with an eye for awesome new talent and ideas, while giving us the same viewpoint for what's being done at the next level of creativity and production. Open submissions for new content on Crypt have just been announced on YouTube, in fact. The gates are unlocked. You can submit right now. The idea of creating a series or online storytelling project is no longer limited by just the internet audience it can create on its own from a single YouTube channel or Twitter account. There is room for advancement and further development. Entities with the power to help creators realize their full visions and develop even greater work are out here looking to provide the path for them to achieve those dreams, and Crypt TV is the most passionate and dedicated I've seen. YouTubers, indie filmmakers, students, hobbyists, they welcome everyone and celebrate bloody good times across the board in a wide range of content. And now, we've built a lane on that road to see it open even wider and connect to this outlet. It's not just me doing night vision coverage anymore to help out new creators. Crypt TV is open and ready for you, and they've got an eager new eye in this field. So, with all of that established, I can tell you that Crypt TV content will be a regular occurrence on the channel, which is great because my first video certainly left me with a hunger to come back to the crypt, and I know a lot of you expressed the same desire. Good to have official clearance to dig even deeper now, right? But for this moment, let's dig into something a lot of you have asked me about since December. Our friend, the Luxie. New episodes and information have come out since initial coverage, including a chronological supercut of the short film pieces by Crypt to help the audience figure out what's happening. Many of you have asked me for my opinion on the growing story, and I'll be glad to provide that before we embark on a very special cabin fever dreams-infused exploration of Crypt TV content. Before we start, if you're new to the Luxie or haven't seen the new pieces yet, I highly recommend viewing the supercut. As previously stated, it's in chronological order and has everything so far that's happened, so you're not going to miss a beat. That's available on the Crypt TV YouTube channel, of course, and also through a link in my video description. Take a moment to catch up on the events in look-see, and we'll regroup here. All set? Excellent. Let's try and piece all the new information together and see how perspective has evolved since we last saw the look-see. Now last time, we had only 3 uploads to go through for information about this monster, his methods, and his meaning. Because yes, he absolutely has one, and I issued a challenge to all of you in the comment section. Tell me about the meaning of the look-see, and if what you say seems right on, you'd get a heart on the comment. The first one to reply with their interpretation that was the closest was the user Apollo, who wrote, "We can assume that the first 2 women lost their husbands or boyfriends, and the last man lost his daughter. The first woman's partner died, possibly long ago, but still wears her wedding ring. The second woman lost her partner, but still keeps an image of him on her mirror, and the man lost his daughter but still looks at her old drawings. The look-see is a personification of loss. If you can't move on and accept that someone is gone, your feelings of loss and dread will haunt you and damage you. If you yourself cannot release, then he will come to take a piece," is basically saying, if you can't let go of this, then the loss will consume you and hurt you. Based on what we saw at the time when it comes to the look-see, this interpretation felt pretty correct. It did seem that the first woman's husband had died, and so she was grieving and unable to let go of her loss and continue her life. Same thing with episode 3 concerning a father who seems to have lost his daughter. Now in episode 2 it gets a little bit muddled. We do see that this woman has a picture of the couple from episode 1 on her mirror and rips the first victim's half of the picture out, leaving only the man. Some of her expressions looking at the picture initially also reveals feelings that might portray grief. Our general impression at the time easily could have been that she was a former lover of the man in the picture, who we assumed was long dead. And if he was dead, then everybody involved with him would have known that, right? If she's unable to let go of grief or loss as well, it would make sense for her to keep his picture and become a victim of the look-see. Except that some of her behavior and the very setup of this whole scene doesn't fully suggest the same relationship or knowledge possessed by the first woman, who was titled in the credits as Jenny. Daniel is apparently the man Jenny was with, and his actor also played the look-see. The woman from episode 2 is named Marlene in the credits. The man in episode 3 is Jonathan. This is all going to come to a surprising reveal very shortly, but for now we can establish this. Marlene, Jenny, and Daniel all knew each other, and Marlene, who seemed to have been involved with Daniel, doesn't know that he's apparently dead in a very telling moment.
Daniel.
Marlene was waiting for Daniel at home, but he's supposed to be married to Jenny, whose grief is directly related to her wedding ring. Marlene rips Jenny out of a picture of the 2 of them. Are you starting to get it? I mean, I know you probably get it if you saw the timeline-ordered supercut I told you to catch up on earlier, but in case you decided to disobey me, I suppose we need this little walkthrough. When you open a closet later and a broomstick falls out and hits you, that's just me punishing you for your insolence. Anyway, the newly administered tiles of each episode gives the game away even before episode 4 and the timeline supercut arrives. The wedding hand and the mistress mind. Jenny and Daniel were married. Daniel cheated, and Marlene is the mistress, who doesn't know that he's dead. It's like one really clever commenter put it on my first Crypt video signifying what's going on with body parts of the look-see chooses. She gave him her hand in marriage, but he had eyes for another. No wonder Daniel's eyes were torn straight through his head, right? Good job, Jason C. You totally called it. And Apollo wasn't wrong either. Moving on is exactly the point for a victim. Look-see is coming after people who have a problem with grief and loss. However, it appears those emotions are just a couple of forms that can be the manifestation of a bigger, more common problem every single victim has, and it all falls under the criteria for look-see's warning. Something to let go of. Jenny, Marlene, Jonathan, the police officer in episode 4, even Daniel, who might have been victim number 1 during the cycle. They all have a major issue with solving an emotional or behavioral problem. There is an obsession associated with everyone, or the danger of one that's about to begin in the case of Officer Gretchen Holt, whose son Jack died in the inciting incident that ties all these characters together. The poisoning of 13 students at Harbor High School. And this is where it gets really interesting. At the town's vigil for the students, we find Daniel, Jenny, Marlene, and even Jonathan sitting together. Daniel gives a knowing look to Marlene, who returns it. Jenny notices, backs away from him, and turns to observe Jonathan, the father from episode 3, seated next to her. We know this is Jonathan even if he looks a little different because he appears in the credits. It's the same actor from episode 3's credits under the same character name. He must have shaved for the vigil, and we see him a good amount of time later as Looksee is making his rounds. This is really interesting and exciting as an addition to the Looksee story. A major tragedy in what seems like a small town, kicking off a series of monster visits. Not only are we dealing with Looksee, we're dealing with a poisoner who pulled off the murder of 13 kids. I'd love to find out more about this as much as I want to know more about Looksee, and I especially want to see if it's fully connected. Perhaps the new character we see besides police officer Gretchen Holt, Lewis, is the key. That crazy backwards pocket watch with the symbol of an eye decorating the front lid is pretty curious, isn't it? So, a word about Lewis. His appearance in episode 4 really made me reconsider what's going on here. He seems to help set up a trap for Officer Holt, then saves her at the last second. He attempts to get her out of the gym, but is captured by the Looksee, who keeps him alive so he can deliver the message for Jenny in episode 1. He's also seen to be in possession of the backwards pocket watch. The Looksee doesn't allow that to just sit out in the open after he pulls Lewis back from rescuing Officer Holt. Lewis, an active minion of the Looksee, keeps that pocket watch all the way up until his death, and it immediately stops ticking once he hits the ground. Listen for it. You'll hear the sound of his body landing, and then the ticking stops. And now, if you've seen the supercut, you'll have spotted the image of Lewis's body after impact, and may or may not have realized that it doesn't look quite right. On first glance, you might not even think about how Lewis's head looks just a bit odd because it's a gory death by height scene, but it does look weird. Even if the half of his head that hit the ground first was absolutely decimated and liquefied on impact, that does not explain what seems to be a clean cut across the top of his head. The scalp doesn't just pop off like the top of a plastic Easter egg when you apply force. This injury looks impossible for the circumstances of Lewis's death. What's more, again, look at the side of his face that's touching the ground. How is that such a clean, even slice? I just don't think his body would look this way. Here's what I'm thinking. The Looksee got him on his way down. I think that Lewis knew his time was about to run out, at which point a piece of him would be taken. Instead of becoming a direct victim of the Looksee, he chose to take a suicide fall right before his time was up. But that didn't necessarily stop Looksee, who took a good swipe or two at his head on the way down, resulting in the scene that we have here. I refuse to believe the impact alone created this kind of damage to his body. It just doesn't seem right. If the impact alone killed him, we wouldn't have as clean of a cut across his scalp, and even if he's shattered like ceramic, we would see the portion of his head that's missing on the side in this shot, or it would be cracking off from the rest of the skull. Lewis just couldn't make it. There was no escaping the Looksee's death. And there you have it, everybody, CSI with Nick Nocturne. Now, let's examine a less gruesome clue found in this scene. The red notebook the pocket watch lays on. Why do I raise the notebook as something to observe? Because even though Looksee appears to be targeting people more based on their mental obsessions, the victims do share a habit of holding on to physical items related to their preoccupations. Jenny had the wedding ring, which she may or may not have flushed in episode 1. Some of you guys have raised the possibility that she didn't flush it at all, and while that is possible, I do think her hand looked a little bit wet in that shot of the ring after Looksee attacked. I'm thinking Looksee could have snatched the ring somehow and left it in her hand to signify that getting rid of him wasn't as simple as tossing away an item, but she could have kept it in her grip the whole time. You guys are right in thinking it might have been that. We would need clarification from the creator Landon about what happened there. Regardless, Jenny had her wedding ring, Jonathan had a ribbon from his daughter as well as the photo book, and Officer Holt seemed to really hesitate when it came to removing that evidence marker where her son's body was found. Lewis may have been keeping the red notebook as his item, or it might have been another gift from the Looksee to help him write the ultimatum messages or list of names to visit. That's not yet clear. I don't think Marlene really had an item, because she would have torn Jenny out of the picture of Daniel a while ago if she'd been holding on to that. And again, Officer Holt only seemed to find something to fixate on just before a Looksee note appeared. It's interesting to think that there might be treasure items or totems associated with each person who has an obsession to release, but I believe it's just more highlighting of a theme about the Looksee. Holding on to hurtful obsessions or refusing to move past mental trauma and times we've been wounded is destructive. Loss, betrayal, jealousy, lust or greed, anger. Holding firm to any negative emotions that keep us in a state of zero movement or even reduce our growth and progress invites a monster to take away pieces of us. It really is telling that Looksee collects what is closely related to the issue of each victim. The wedding hand, the mistress mind, the father's hug. Jenny lost her marriage hand, Marlene lost her head, Jonathan lost his arms, and Daniel lost his eyes. There's still a lot we don't know right now when it comes to Looksee, and I'm glad for it, because we get to just keep going on this journey and finding out more and more. We don't know who poisoned the kids, we don't know if it's the event that summoned the Look-See, we don't know all the rules of the pocket watch, we don't know who's next, we don't know if the pocket watch is actually a countdown like I talked about earlier or if it's a symbol, and we still really don't know why this monster is called the Look-See. And also, those red gloves. Where did those come from? Seriously, why these red gloves? That's it, we just need an episode dedicated to these red gloves. That's all I request. What we do know is that the Look-See runs deeper than being a monster of grief, and the story surrounding him in the town of Harbor runs a lot deeper too. This series just keeps getting better, and it's easy to understand the fascination that's grown around Look-See. He is doing excellently as a new monster, with the supercut video alone counting for over 1 million views. And why is Look-See so popular besides his fear factor and the ever-growing intrigue of the story? I think it's because instinctively viewers know precisely what kind of monster this is. The Look-See is resonating with people, especially in this time in history, because he represents something that human beings really don't like to talk about or address, something that people deeply fear. The major importance in letting go. That impossible quandary that we all have. Letting something go. Whatever nasty, hurtful, hateful, jealous, grief-ridden, or angry obsession a person has, whatever grudge or issue, their need to keep holding on to it, keep bringing it up, and keep living in their negativity, condemnation, sense of loss or betrayal, or their victimhood ends up taking away integral parts of who they are and turns them into a true victim. Sometimes it maims you, sometimes it kills you, and sometimes, if it strikes and costs you something important because you fail to let go, it turns you into a messenger warning other people with the problem to never make the mistake you committed. Hindsight is all the Look-See's living victims have. Hindsight and regret. And they use both of these to share their message as penance. If you yourself cannot release, it will come to take a piece. Letting go, moving on, forgiving, forgetting, healing, growing, making progress, letting something go already. This is what human beings need to survive and live. Whatever it is, people need to learn to let it go. Because if they don't, it's going to fester inside and warp them, and cause their relationships, personality, everything around them to suffer and crumble. It calls a monster to their door. It takes away a piece of who they are. The Look-See is like a horror metaphor about an intervention in which somebody finally confronts you about the obsessive or begrudging behavior you exhibit. His note is just a more poetic way of doing it. Let it go, or you really will lose something that you will miss. The Look-See is a karmic sort of monster whose victims are also the perpetrators of the crime they're being punished for. It doesn't matter if you've been hurt or lost or somebody made you angry. You need to move on. You need to let go and stop living in the darkness of a past event or slight. The entire world seems to have this problem. Look-See is a monster of our time, an excellent monster, not only for all the fun parts of his lore and methods, but because his tale really is that kind of art piece. So many of the monsters, creatures, and legends in this world really represent the evils encountered by humanity and the lessons that can be learned. Life has challenge points along its path, and some of them include horrors, be they within you or outside you. The Look-See is one of these fables, and to see such a positive response to him on a wide scale makes me very, very excited for the future of horror and the modern state dark media is in. I think we're doing a lot better than holding on to the past. We are most certainly moving forward. But before we move forward in this video, I want to mention 2 little interesting bits of Look-See information we can't make much of right now, but do serve as something to remember. First, Lewis was at the vigil. Right up here on the balcony overlooking the crowd, we can see him just before he walks away. He is more than likely related to the Harbor High School tragedy. The second item is even more mysterious. It might be nothing, it might be something. We'll have to see. When Officer Holt is investigating the back room of the gym after hearing noises, she scans the area with her flashlight, illuminating what looks like a woman standing perfectly still with her back turned. Look at that head of hair. It seems much too real to be some kind of weird prop back here, right? That looks a lot like a person. It could be a wig we're seeing, it could be anything, but it looks pretty odd. If that is a person, who are they? What were they doing back there? And why didn't Officer Holt see them? Mysteries, mysteries. But we'll find out more when Season 2 of Look-See begins rolling out, which should be soon. I'm excited for it, but in the meantime, we'll have to find some other monsters to occupy ourselves with. And considering it's cabin fever dream season, I'd have to chastise even myself if I didn't bring you all on a tour of the wackier, more out there stuff on Crypt TV. Because believe me, they've got it. They can do dark, they can do mysterious, they can do dramatic and straight-laced horror, and they can also do stuff like this.
I'll do whatever you want.
Say bubbles.
What?
Say it.
Bubbles.
Louder.
Bubbles.
3 times in quick succession.
Bubbles, bubbles, bubbles.
Holy f***, that is funny. Oh, 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 Ooh.
So that's it?
Oh.
My God, yeah, sorry. I always forget the whole let you go part. And I'll get this for you. You will not believe how many twisty tries I go through getting this done. It's unbelievable. Okay, I think you're good to skedaddle.
You sure?
Oh my God, yeah, like, what am I gonna do? Keep you tied up here for decades and periodically torture you? Really? Okay, I have a life. Thank you. Get home safe. Is there a problem? Bubbles.
Yeah, that's right. Crypt TV can be funny. Wonderfully, darkly funny. And sometimes a little bit crazy and off the wall too. Just how we like it for Cabin Fever Dreams content. And it doesn't stop at skits either. The monster tales they can bring up also deliver when it comes to the beautifully absurd. You all might love and fear the look-see, but tell me, have you ever heard of the Cake Man?
It's a little late to be eating cake.
Dad.
See? Why don't you help your mom instead?
That's odd.
What?
Looks like we missed one. Was it fun? I don't know. Let me see. It's empty. You know what? This will work nicely as a storage box. Here, take your toys in your room and get ready for bed.
He's coming. Hide.
Libby?
Mom! Help me!
Libby?
So this piece by Sofia Garza Barba is everything you think it is. Part humor, part crazy horror, all absurd fun. I can say I've never thought of a monster that comes to cut off your fingers on your birthday and use them as candles, but my life is improved now just for seeing that. The humor and dark silliness is in pretty great juxtaposition, with the father eating cake and listening to these shrieks of terror from his daughter's room while shrugging it off not just once, but twice. And then we have this character looking like an avant-garde birthday clown that stitched together its own costume appearing and actually showing off that it's dangerous and powerful. The wholesome 1950s to 1960s setting helps sell the contrast. It makes me think of finding this kind of story in an old illustrated children's book, like Dick and Jane. In fact, I kind of want that now. A storybook in that old painted illustrated kids book style about the Cake Man. That would be fun. I talk a lot about much more serious work outside of Cabin Fever Dream season on Night Minds, but it's very true that the field of horror and dark storytelling as a whole includes a deep history of campy, wild, and even absurd work that borders on the comedic or just outright embraces it. I mean, just look at the Evil Dead series. You don't get much better for a measurement of camp horror than that, and Crypt TV not only recognizes it, but embraces it through some of the work on display, like we've just seen with Cake Man. Even now, creators are taking a super modern approach to the idea of camp horror and absurdist humor. One of my favorites among the collection Crypt has is entirely influenced by me being a YouTuber and really is just pure genius.
To friends, the most important thing at a Labor Day barbecue. What's wrong?
I only came because Peter said I could have all your Vine followers if I did.
What?
Okay, listen. Peter's on some weird voodoo thing right now, and basically we have to eat you. If we eat you, we gain all your powers. Essentially, we gain all your following.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking dumb. Yo, what's Peter at anyway? Peter!
I'm so sorry, but it was for a good cause.
Yo, that was dope. Yo, take this picture for Instagram.
Smile.
Guys, this is so messed up. Okay, if you're gonna do this, just make sure you don't get any of it on my clothes.
Incoming!
Oh my god! Oh my god.
See? It's working! It's working!
Oh my god. Steve, are you waking up?
Dude, you are trending so hard right now!
Fuck! Yo, where's my arm at?
Whoa! Shit!
Yo, stop!
You taste so disgusting.
Yo, stop fucking eating me. That was wrong with y'all. Can you stop? Can you spit my lab back out? You got what you want, please. Can you stop?
To friends!
You might have noticed that even for as crazy and silly as that was, the fun behind the joke and its horror is embedded in truth and can make you think a bit about life. There's actually a lot of smart humor like that on here. For example, I think many of us can relate to the delightful piece that celebrates an upcoming holiday, Mother's Day.
Mom, I know one measly day of appreciation will never compare to your years of love and dedication. But even so, I figured it wouldn't hurt to say just some of the reasons I love you more each and every day. Mom, I love you for teaching me to turn the other cheek, even when Lily Rollins called me a ginger freak. Mom, I love you for always going the extra mile to make sure I'm safe and doing it with a smile.
What the?
It could have been a child!
Mom, I love you for teaching me to avoid everyday dangers. That's why I make sure to never talk to strangers.
You have reached the location of the nearest pedophile.
And just to round out this small sample of Crypt TV's many gems about the horrors of day-to-day human life and society, I'd like to show the first one I saw that made me grin like a fool back when I experienced Crypt in my initial marathon run.
I'll take the kale salad with beets and the light raspberry vinaigrette dressing on the side.
Sure thing. And for you?
I'll have the surf and turf with the T-bone steak, medium rare, and the lobster tail. No sides.
Okay, great. I'm right up.
So, are you like on a new diet or something? Oh yeah, that. My trainer wants me to increase my daily protein intake. Eating meat is murder. No, it's evolution. What about animal rights? What about my rights? You're such a heartless bitch! Not so heartless anymore.
There are a few others in here I'd love to show off, but as with everything, I prefer when you guys get to view things without me spoiling the experience. Like last time, I've created a playlist that contains everything we've gone over here and will also have my recommendations for content I'd suggest in this vein on Crypt. Just choose the playlist and enjoy the fun. Trust me, if you don't see where the humor is at first, just wait for it. If it got me to laugh or smile, it's been included. Feel free to share it with anyone else you think would get a kick out of this too. And now, to finish up this cabin fever dreams-infused episode of Crypt TV Exploration, I would like to introduce a new series that they've been rolling out for a little bit that lights up the imagination: Crypt Fables. As we've seen with a lot of cabin fever dreams material, it's often a good time when you take something that's traditional or well-known and twist it a bit to deliver an unexpected result, and that's precisely what Crypt is doing here. These fairy tales don't just use the original characters, settings, and tropes as strict guidelines either. They take elements of the old stories and ask, how can this take a turn to be gruesome, horrifying, and still deliver a lot of truth about humanity and the way that people treat each other? Fables are, after all, humanity's oldest lessons in observing their own behavior and consequences. Who better to highlight the darker nature of these stories than a horror specialist? As of this time, there are 7 fables, with 4 of them available on YouTube. The rest are making their way over from Facebook. And in case you want to see all of them, I'll put a link in the video description for you, as well as sharing on Twitter when the others show up on the YouTube side. My personal favorite of these available is Mira Mira, for taking an old tale and spinning it in a terrifying direction with an ending that includes some awesome effects. I'm always a sucker for incredible monster and creature design, and this one really impressed me with an aspect I sure didn't see coming. In fact, you can even see some fun effects work in the short Geppetto, and for sure you'll catch it in The Little Mermaid. This video actually went viral back when it premiered, but another tale, Rapunzel, seems to have outdone it in popularity by a good 4 million views or so. Ever ask yourself what Rapunzel would do without all that glorious hair? You can most certainly find out. And if you want to see my favorite fable that's not on YouTube yet, I do quite encourage that you look up Crypt Fables on Facebook and watch the upload Cheshire. Yeah, it's exactly what you're thinking, but no, it does not go the way that you believe. The style oozes throughout this piece, and it incorporates a stylistic choice you'll recognize immediately that really lends itself to being a fable sort of tale. I love it and encourage viewership for that one especially. As stated earlier, everything I'd have you guys check out in full and everything I've shown off here will be available in the Crypt TV Cabin Fever Dreams Edition playlist on my channel. You can look it up through any of the normal means to find a playlist or hit the link in my video description. I'd also like to reiterate that Crypt is open for submissions. You can join the gallery of creators with your own horrifying entry. A link will be listed in my video description to the submissions page for you, and I wish you the absolute best of luck. I already know a good lot of you are web series rock stars and can produce something truly awesome. Who knows, maybe the next Crypt TV hit I get to talk about will be made by you. I'd certainly love to be able to do that. So, embrace your fear, grab your camera, and get to work. You've got this. Thanks again to Crypt TV, the new partner of Nightmind in the journey to support and celebrate great new creators and their unique, terrifying work. Major thanks to all of you as well for viewing and supporting me. I would never be at this point in my life without you, and sometimes I still ask myself if this is all real or if I'm living in a dream. But in either scenario, I still have you guys to thank for it, and I appreciate and love you for all that you've done. Major thanks especially on that note to my supporters on Patreon who have done so much to make this all possible and whose generosity and kindness is immense. Stick around to the end of this video to see all of their names. Thanks for joining me in the dark again this evening, friends. And also, thanks for joining me in the crypt. Once more, I'm Nick Nocturne, and I'll be seeing you again real soon. Best of luck to all of you submitting work, and despite what nightmares you may produce, remember to sleep tight.